Hello, everybody, to Treasury Guild call. This is our last session this year on 2023. And we had an idea to go through a history of meeting notes in Treasury Guild. To the lack of time, we're not going to go in many details of going through action items that were left undone, and do we want to carry it on to new year. That has to be done asynchronously. But what I would show you is just the feel of the conversation, and going through agenda items we had, then feel of the patterns we did. And there were several experiments how the meetings themselves changed and the meeting notes, or how they were captured. At the start of the year, there were recap of last Treasury Guild meetings. So something, yeah, we basically had like these discussions where we discussed what happened in other meetings because they were quite intertwined at the start of it. Marketing with budgeting and supporting the structure. So it looks like at the start of the year, always been about budgeting, what we need to do and how have a good overview of funds. So now we somewhat have a better overview of funds, but well, compared to what are on the meeting notes, and this is the maximum information compared to now where we have documents and Google Sheets. So we are getting improved. And of course, we also then experimented, can we do asynchronous like agenda items on Google Form, which died off and I guess never really came back. Also, at like a month later or so, when we turned into bi-weekly. So previously last year, we always was a weekly session, and now we turned into bi-weekly. And at the same time, there was this governance school doing PBLs. So I stole this like a consent method. How do we like select the agenda items, and then do we need to propose, and how do we kind of distinguish which agenda item should be discussed and how far. And that was something interesting because we constantly had like different items and questions we need to discuss. So that tool kind of helped us to make it more, more like cohesive with the team on what are we discussing. So what kind of roles we would need was our priority back then. And we had a bit of experiments of distinguishing these roles and how do we differentiated our like perception of these tasks that take, and we then cropped it based on perception and tried to like create the simple roles first and define them. Also at the start of the year, we first time introduced the Swarm Treasury system, and we also started thinking, okay, how do we integrate it in ambassador program, and what is the capacity to run it and operations? And to this day still, we have the same rules, same fees ongoing. So I would say that is the most consistent experiment that's still running. Integrating podcast group to marketing guild, and that was now the podcast group is of course gone, but we had other working groups back then. Creating budget for Treasury Guild and Treasury Guild action items. So budgeting is a thing we do. Then, more integrations. So we get into, first we accepted, let's try to get with these fees. Then we have had like operational meetings in the between. How do we get this done? Integrating again the podcast. So we have discussions, how do we kind of create a cohesive understanding of what's part of the ambassador program and what's not, and how do we compare it with others in a sense of a space capacity. Then we had our first like transparent calls, and that brought up these issues of transparency and showing too much information. And yeah, here is a list of like files and from previous version, like old Excel files and the new version. And also insights into how Treasury Guild is operating, the Swarm Treasury one, and the guiding of how the treasury system is built in, which we discussed a little bit today. So if we plan to do the PBL, these are still relevant information to learn about. Looks like then first quarter is ending. We are creating tool to have calculation for monthly budgets. So that, I guess, is marketing guild. Yeah, marketing guild now has split up, as you know, but back then it was like a one group that did several things at once. So that was like quite a comprehensive information and provided a good first example for other work groups too to take ideas from. Reward from Swarm Treasury Guild wallet address. And so still back in the year, we used Swarm wallet and Swarm like staple rewards and proposal rewards to do additional documentation and provide like budget for people to improve things in master program and get onboarded here. But it also included deep funding because back then we maybe less differentiated deep funding and ambassador program in a sense of who do we and how do we like focus our focus. Yeah, still quarter 3 ending, and now I start. Okay, I can see already one big difference. I think this was then the last time we used this consent model, because the agenda started more like we didn't need to prioritize them that much. It was more clear of what to do next. Maybe it was a bottleneck of just or just a feeling of like when you start new things, like the Treasury Guild is was pretty new and start of the year. So there was many agendas, but as we classified more of what we do, then this kind of agenda started popping up, and I started doing more agenda-based discussions, like pre-planned more consistent. And yeah, my first idea was that in these calls we always bring in everybody's work group. So a bit of like what Ambassador program is doing now, where everybody work group gives their updates. But here the updates are about like what they do in the work, what budgets they use, or what they need, and yeah, try to start experiment that and change the design a little bit. And then also this kind of was used to start like when we had discussion here, if there is anything that wasn't discovered, it was carried over to the next one. So it was always like a tree that had like this version of this old version and then a new version. And everything that action items were purple, but if the action item was not completed, it was turned to blue and moved to the next one. But yeah, as you can see, this like having discussions about all work groups, we couldn't have that discussion all the time. At some point, we wanted to again like invite people to onboard to the treasury system, teach them how to manage the treasury, and we guided people to implement the infrastructure to Ambassador Google Drive and see where it led us. Then again, week after that, we had some more discussions. Looks like mainly we did Treasury Guild discussions and we never really got around marketing process code or strategy guild. There are in future where there are more agenda items appear there. But yeah, we never really got out of that cycle of so many things are discussed. As you can see, even here is like all of this is blue, keep being pushed forward. But if we would go to detail, there is actually quite a bunch of like all these yellow ones and green sticky notes means that they were answered, they were discussed. But back then we didn't really have meeting notes. So as you can see, the differentiation right now, there was didn't really take these lessons into like a document form, but kept it in Miro boards. Oh yeah, and let's see, April, so second quarter, we were working, at least I was working on the Treasury side, like on the voting tool, so that we could use our contribution as a voting weight to decisions. And although we didn't have any like decisions we needed to do that, but there was this continuous discussion of other work groups that, hey, let's discuss how do we do decisions and what decisions we do in like public states, and what should be more community included and who is community. So that was an experiment I started working on, and then I created like a Miro board integration that we can do voting on Miro board and then export it to Treasury system to add the weights. And yeah, that happened 2 weeks, but inside also we organized Beaver contributions and did like bundle together. So it was about the time, I guess, we introduced activity lists, so where everybody can just create a list of things they do. Looks like the discussion moved into archival work of Treasury system. Okay, so now we are in the second quarter is ending, so we are feeling like, ooh, we need to PBL proposal. Oh, okay, so that's the time when we actually did proposals. So we had in process school to experiment, oh, let's do proposals, but we never really understood, okay, how do we conduct them? I guess that's why we also discussed like how do we vote on them and how could we vote on them, and that's why the voting weight kind of came up and we experimented. At least I tried to do something on that side. Although that kind of died off, and right now it's actually also on top of my backlog. But we can bring it up. And even here, Mindplex content translations. We can see it started 6 months ago or 5 months ago. And still ongoing thing, which is now getting its answer. PBL was declined, but as you know, the second attempt was successful. And we have quite a good work group running. Back again on these agenda items. Now I can see other marketing cool and processing cool brought its agenda up and items up that we have discussed and not even solved one. PBL coming with his second attempt. No pushback, good stuff. And then at the end of quarter 2 and in the start of quarter 3, the PBL was established. More discussion flows, and then I guess, yeah, now we can see quarter 3 is starting, but I think we are, since, yeah, with this experiment, with this like a half-ass proposals got in, we kind of got the feeling of what proposals look like, but also the time kind of just went past us quite fast. So we are started to having already, oh, let's new rules, new experiments, let's cut. And we are started to reach the budget limits. So that's kind of enhanced the requirement to, or was it this time? Or maybe this was the time where actually, yeah, okay. So that was the time where ambassador rewards took 80% of all the rewards. And we felt like, okay, we need to distribute the rewards more and try to, yeah, make it easier for people to ask rewards instead of giving them rewards based on the role they have. And then, yeah, turning it like Vanessa likes to go more in scale to more piecework and less to the trust side. And there is always like a fine line between them. So having like going back and forth is, I think that's what keeps spaces lively. Now I feel I already take more than 10 minutes of my time, but we are getting closer to finishing up the quarter 3 proposal here. A bunch of discussions where actually some of them still are relevant to this day, these action items. But yeah, not going to do detail. Google form collection follow info, better onboarding stuff. Because back then, I think Q3 was also the time where, actually, this is already Q4, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, actually, it's Q3. But this, I feel like this is very relevant to the onboarding work group when it started. And then also Treasury could look into how to help people to kind of set them up to get rewards. And as you can see, at some point, there started being meeting notes more clear. So that was actually quite long time. I didn't even notice. But yeah, at some point, meetings notes started kicking in, or summaries at least. Tag rate standardizing, moving to bi-weekly schedule, Treasury could operation. Okay, so we did have a weekly session again at some point. So we have been hopping on and off. We zoom out. I'm not sure, did I? Yeah, these are all weekly. But this is bi-weekly. No, this is actually, no, this is bi-weekly. And this is weekly. Okay, so I guess at the beginning of the year, we mostly had, okay, I guess there was some break between, but mostly it has been weekly session, where looks like now it started to go bi-weekly. Unfortunately, it's not visual by the big gaps as in the early beginning. Yeah, Treasury good budget planning for Q4. I will assume so. Started at the beginning of 4 and lasted, and actually extra session. I guess the more information you have, the harder it is to come to the decision, as more people are actually learning what they can, or their capacity. And also their time spent on other work groups also takes more precedent. So yeah, getting information together and align on that was quite a challenge this time, but we got it through. We got the proposal through. So yeah, at the very end, a few weeks ago, also started bringing up the insight from the auditing process. So where we always kind of went through the tasks, made sure that the tasks names are correct, there are no errors in it, so that they could look good on metadata, and also checking if the rewards seem to be right. And if there are any errors or warnings that we get, we also started putting it on the board and mentioning like where it started here. Insights from Treasury could related to specific tasks. And to this day, I still used it, but well, except today, but yeah, we'll see. Do we want to continue with this style, or should we jump back to any previous experiment of running or facilitating, or just going with the flow as these open agendas come and go? And that would be kind of as fast step as I can give to the quarter, like year one, year one of full year of a Treasury grid. And with this, I will also stop the recording. Thanks for watching.